Hey friends, welcome back to Writing. I wanted to take some time today to go back and review personal narrative. After checking over some writing and hearing concerns from parents and frustrations from you guys and saying that writing was hard, we want to kind of take a step back and let's look at a way to make this a little bit easier. All right, I have something that I have sent to your parents that I'm hoping they're going to print out for you. And this is going to be your beginning of the unit personal narrative student checklist. This checklist is literally something you can check off to make sure you've done everything that your teacher is expecting you to do for a personal narrative at the beginning of the year. All right, now we remember personal narrative is an absolutely true story about you. My personal narratives are absolutely true stories about me. So make sure that you're writing those true stories. It's fun to write the fake stories, and there's going to be a time for those fiction stories. But right now we want to focus on true stories because we want to be able to have good detail. And you have the most detail about things you're experienced with. And that's why we start with personal narrative. All right, so if we look at our personal narrative checklist, this is all that your teacher is expecting you to have done right now at the beginning of our unit. All right, so you're going to make sure the first one says, I made a plan across 5 pages on sticky notes or across the top of the page. So this is the very first bullet on your checklist. So I want to show you exactly what that is because I think some people have missed that somewhere. Your 5-page plan is when you plan on your 5 sticky notes or you write across the top of 5 pages. Now, remember that's just a plan. That's not the real writing. That plan's going to go away, especially if it's a sticky note. So you know that this sticky note is not part of your writing, but it's your ideas. So that way we don't forget what we're going to say. All right, when we go to our 5-page plan, remember it should be written across 5 pages. So here I have page 1. I have page 2. I have page 3. I have page 4. And I have page 5. Okay, so my writing went across 5 pages. Okay, now when you looked at my writing, I didn't fill up all 5 pages, but I looked at writing on 5 pages. Okay, the next part of your checklist after you have your plan is that I wrote at least 1 to 2 sentences on each page focused on what I wrote in my plan. That's all you have to have. Now, I am an adult and I am a teacher. My writing might be a lot better than some of the writing you think you can do. And that's okay. You guys are in the 2nd grade. You're learning writing. You're giving your teachers job security by having us teach you writing. That leaves us something to teach you. If you knew everything and could do everything, then we wouldn't have a job. And I like my job. So I only expect 1 or 2 sentences. Does that mean you can only have 1 or 2 sentences? No, you can have as many sentences as you want. But for those of us that have a trouble writing, just know it's okay for right now for us just to have 1 or 2 sentences. If I go back to page 1 and I look at my sticky note, I know my plan. This was the story about the time I almost got eaten by a bear. That I had on my plan, my characters and my setting. And when I took that off, I have my title, but I only wrote 2 sentences. Now, my sentences are very long. Your sentences might be short, and that's okay. All right? My family and I took a trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. That's 1 sentence. We wanted to see some animals, so we went to the Gatlinburg State Park right before it got dark. That's 2 sentences. And then I put my sticky note back in place, and I was done with page 1. And I repeated that step with each one of my pages. Okay, so 1 to 2 sentences is all you need on every page. Okay, next, you're going to make sure, you're going to go back and look at your writing and make sure that you started each sentence with a capital letter and ended each sentence with a punctuation mark. We've been working on this with complete sentences in grammar. You should make sure that your sentence is a complete thought, that it makes sense, that it has a subject, the who, it has a predicate, the what, and that it ends with some kind of punctuation mark. Okay, those are all the elements to make a complete sentence. So that's something we're going to make sure that we put into our writing. Because as we learn things, we're going to begin putting it in. Next, I skipped lines on each page. The reason you should skip lines is because your writing is not perfect the first time you write it. Your writing might not even be perfect the second time. Did you know that real authors sometimes write their books 3, 4, and 5 times before they become a real book? Did you know that? All right, so we want to leave lines. We want to skip lines in between our writing so that we have room to edit later. And that's something we're going to work on. All right, so you want to make sure that in your writing you've skipped lines because you want to have room to make it great. We're going to learn some different strategies and you want to have a space to try those. All right, and then the last thing you're going to do on your checklist is I gave my writing a title. And so you want to make sure that your writing, your story has a title. So as you're finishing up your personal narratives, we've decided to give you a few more days to work on these. Then I want you to make sure that you follow this checklist for the 2 personal narratives you need to have done. If you're ready to write a third, please feel free to write a third. But by the end of this week, I want you to have 2 personal narratives in your writing journal that follow this checklist. Because next week, we're going to do some editing and we're going to learn some really cool tips and tricks from some real authors who are excellent at their job. So follow this checklist. This hopefully will make it a little easier for you to follow the writing process and let your teacher know if you have any questions. We can't wait to see what you're writing. Have a great day.